Welcome back to another episode of the EquiRatings Jumping Podcast. Connolly's Red Mills have been so kind to sponsor another episode of our podcast, and this is a big week because it is the playoffs in Riyadh. As this pod comes out, we will likely be in the middle of the GCL Super Cup semi-final. But before we head to Riyadh, I actually just want to have a quick throwback to Stuttgart, Diarm, because how incredible was that? We have to talk about Richard Vogel and United Touch, their third World Cup victory. Absolutely incredible. It's only the third Western European World Cup leg that United Touch has jumped. It's also the third one that he has won. He is now the fifth highest rated horse in the world. He's just been jumping up those ratings, and it has been absolutely incredible. To this day, United Touch is unbeatable in any 5-star 160 jump off he jumps clear in. What an achievement.
I think certainly at a point where we're in that kind of review of the year and you're trying to use the full year to get a little bit of context and reminder that it's not just 3 or 4 months. I think if you were, the feeling that you would have at the moment is that he is the most exciting horse in the sport. What's great about the lists is that it keeps reminding you that actually even in 2024, that's when King Edward still broke that ELO barrier of, when it was all the way up at 822, I think at one point in the year. Having the lists at this time of year and all of the opportunities to look back is a reminder that there's a lot more horses in and around United Touch. Olympic medal winners in Dynamics, the consistency of Beauville, the class and the volume of King Edward. You can go back through it all, but I certainly think, Charlotte, if you're basing it on the last, probably what Aachen was an incredible time for Vogel anyway, outside of that last rail. On the last rail of the last day, he still had those 4 wins and 9 podiums, or 4 wins included within the 9 podiums. But probably from Aachen on, it feels to me that like Vogel, United Touch has been, I don't know how many times we've talked about him on this show, but constantly. And the feeling I have is like, I know when we were looking at the preview for Stuttgart, the first thing you went was United Touch is there, Dynamics is there, and you got that head to head. Okay, Dynamics I think was 2 down, but all of us, I look back on that clip that you posted, all of us had United Touch, the sensible pick to win, and goes and delivers again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so on the kind of tip of the cap to the horse, I think like the double clear in Barcelona Nations Cup final, I think that was a big moment. Obviously the double clear in Aachen, like this is clearly a big scopy horse that can jump a double clear around any track. I think having that in your locker is huge. Whereas at the time, this is a really dangerous comment, but like say some of when Caracol de la Roque was on the ascent and had that incredible 10-year-old season with Julien Epillard before moving to Carl Cook. But just in that season alone, I'd have been like a winning machine, but I didn't see the same, like, I'm not saying like that wants to jump double clear around the biggest, scopiest tracks in the world as well. So I think United Touch is a really complete opponent to a King Edward or a Dynamic. That's what I love about the horses. I think he's really versatile. On the speed thing, I want to change the spotlight away from the horse, who we know has this enormous stride and all this kind of conversation that gets repeated a lot, but I want to shine it on Vogel. And what's really interesting, like when I started following show jumping in a lot more depth as EquiRatings was starting up like 4 years ago in show jumping, you'd look at a lot of the jump offs and you'd say repeat trends were the later you are in the draw, the more risk you'll take. And the later on in the course, the more risk you'll take. Now, as an analyst, I would be saying, why are you I know you're waiting in theory to be later in the draw, to take more risk, because you'd be like, oh, well, I'll put a safe clear on the board and then they'll have to go faster me. I'll put the pressure on them to go faster me. But I was like, hang on, there is so much inevitability about this that like, it doesn't matter if you're drawn early or drawn late. Like if there's enough in the jump off and you know who you're against, like you're going to have to take risk. It's like such a unlikely event that you won't have to take risk. But the fascinating thing is the early in the course versus late in the course. This is new. This is where Richie Vogel, for me, feels like a bit of a game changer. Because if you start go back to Satogenbosch and the visuals of Henrik von Eckermann and King Edward down to the last fence, and of course being beaten by a home favourite, also taking equal risk to the last fence. Those are scenes we're used to, gallop into the last. But if you take that risk late on in the course, you know, the horse's heart rate's been up for a lot longer, the legs are a little bit tireder. Vogel takes the risk early when the horse is fresh. He comes round, he gets his angles right on the first fence to set up the second. His pace is right up there. And then he's taking these incredible risks at like fence 2 and 3. And then he's saving to the last, and he'll have it in his arsenal. Like one day, and it might be Geneva, he won't be able to save to the last because a Henrik or a Steve or someone will have put him under so much pressure that he'll have to keep the tempo up. But right now, I'm looking at him going like, this guy he's a real thinker, he's a real strategist, he's really exciting to watch. I think he's just made the sport of show jumping so much more exciting.
Going back on that, on the point of Vogel being able to he starts off fast and he can wait. I wonder how much of that has to do with Aachen, where he did take that risk to the last and celebrated so early. And now he's learned from that and he's thinking, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can in the beginning of the course so I can stay calm to the last and make sure that everyone's concentrated and that everyone's doing my head's right, the horse's head's right, and I can just wait and take the win that way. I wonder how much of that comes from Aachen.
Well, I think in well, no, we should get him on the show and talk this through, because it'd be really interesting to hear from his point of view. But he had it in I think the reason for the last fence, the reason for the early celebration, which is a completely different conversation, I think because he's already been developing this, and again, you'd need to watch him more on the other horses to see, is he doing this across other horses as well, or is it just United Touch? But because he had Aachen in the back going to the last fence, and to know that in a jump off, like that's unreal. In a 5-star jump off, to know you have this, like we're talking about, like the amount of times we talk about winning margins in the EquiRatings form guides that all our shows and partners use. Like we do winning margins because it's coming down to like 1/100th of a second at times. So you are not aware of, I've got 2/100th of a second in the back here. He knows he's like got a second or 2 seconds up his sleeve in a jump off in a sport that is notorious for fine margins. That's what's insane about it. And I think what's interesting with the one I made about, if you go back and watch his Barcelona second round, it was such a tough round to jump in, and he jumps the last, and he's just like an absolute iceman, like the quietest little pat, keeps cantering, doesn't move, motionless. And I think that's because of Aachen, like no early celebrations in Barcelona, but his strategy of win it early in a jump off, and when the horse is maybe just starting to fatigue towards the end, that's when you can then help the horse, rather than that's where you take the risk. I think it's so smart. It's like anything in sport and anything in the world, like any good innovation looks so obvious when it's launched, and you're like, why weren't we always doing this? It makes so much sense. But to be the person that does it first, that's class.
It's absolutely incredible, and I don't think any of us will be surprised to see United Touch go up in the top 3 rated horses in the world sometime soon. Like we said, we have Geneva coming up. He is going to be really working towards peaking in Geneva. He's also in the Rolex Top 10 final now for the first time, because he's in that top 10 of the Longines ranking. So I don't know what the plan is, if United Touch is jumping that and the Grand Prix. We shall see, but he's definitely going to want to have that horse at his peak in Geneva and either defend his title or take his first Rolex Top 10 final win. But I think we've Like, we've given them their time. But what I'm really excited about now is Riyadh.
Yeah.
We have to go to Riyadh. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, we will be in the middle of the GCL Super Cup semi-finals. Right now, we lost Monaco Aces and Madrid in Motion in the quarterfinal yesterday. But Dermot Byrne is so passionate about the GCL Super Cup. So I'm going to give him his time to shine.
What actually happened, Sam, is I said, can we talk about the GCL? And Charlotte said, no, you can't. We can talk about the GCT. And I said, why not the GCL? She said, well,
she
the GCL
protests,
will be on.
by the way. She's putting her hand up and saying, no way.
Well, no, this is what happened. She said, the GCL will be on by the time it's starting. So and look, that does make a degree of sense. However, for me, GCL is actually such a good competition if only you give people the access to it in terms of how to understand it and how you can talk about it. But I love all counting scores. All counting scores just makes for great sport. Like last night we had a quarterfinal. Big news from the quarterfinal is that you lose two big players. So what happens is, the front four of the series, they automatically progress to the semi-final. So the first time that we'll see no, I'm looking at the wrong notes. First time that we'll see who won it this year. Can Stars won it. So they are through. Riesenbeck, Can Stars 301. These are season points. Can Stars 301, Riesenbeck 281, Stockholm Hearts 270, and Doha Falcons 252. They all didn't jump last night. They progress directly into tonight's competition, and then the top 8 teams from last night, they head to today's quarterfinal. Tonight's semi-final. So you actually have 12 teams jumping tonight. 6 of them then progress to the final. But yeah, all counting scores is great. The big news from last night is that Monaco Aces are out and Madrid in Motion are out. Now, both of those are big players who've put, I think both of them were in the Prague final. Both of them picked up decent money. I mean, O'Bailey, so Van der Vleuten is out. Your friend Rockefeller's gone. Charlotte, across Monaco Aces and Madrid in Motion, you've got some big players, and they're gone. Now, interestingly, when you look at this is the 9th season of GCL, 2016 onwards. I know we had a very, very abbreviated season in 2020, but when you look at actually 2 of the teams that are out, they're in the big 5 teams. There's 5 teams, there's 4 teams actually, I should say, that have competed every year. And then there's a 5th team, Monaco Aces, who've competed as 8 of the 9 years. They just didn't compete in 2022. The only time that we didn't see those.
Are you counting the ones that keep changing their name, like Berlin Warriors, Berlin Eagles, and now Riesenbeck International?
These guys have competed under this name and this setup all the way from the start. So Vakensvard are your big players. These numbers I'm going to give you, these don't include finals because you kind of have to treat Prague and now Riyadh slightly separately in terms of your calculation. But if you look at the actual season, the season scoring, let's say, over those 9 seasons, Vakensvard come out on top in terms of the volume, the number of rounds jumped, that is in terms of actual rounds and actually in terms of clear rounds. They're actually posting serious numbers over a long time. I know obviously with like the commitment that will be there from the top stable into their own series. But
that's kind of reflected in their trends, right? Because they were bigger hitters, I would have said, earlier in the life of GCL. Like their reign has been, they've kind of been kicked off the top spots in recent seasons. Is that fair? I think they have.
Yeah, a little bit. Like Riesenbeck have emerged, you would say, as someone that, like, to give you a bit of context, Riesenbeck have less than 120 GCL runs within the season over those, probably 4 seasons, I guess now. Whereas Vakensvard are coming in on nearly 500 rounds total, but they've a 45% clear rate. Shanghai Swans are the other, Madrid in Motion and Can Stars. Can Stars have never really delivered anything like at the level that we're going to see this year. Like when you look at their clear rates over 10 years, you're down sub 30%, which would be outside the top 10, 15.
It's what you can
I've got
do to
more.
a team if you girl power it.
Yeah,
this is the first
investment.
time the Iron, like isn't that a better Iron? So like Stockholm Hearts was this like a new team that kind of came from scratch. I would say I don't think they really inherited or took over another team as far as I can make out anyway. And they came on with a big bang, like Petter and Malin and the Philip Arts brothers, and it was a pretty cool team that was put together. But I think it's cool that Iron Dames have taken over an existing team and completely transformed its performance by, like, I think two things. Like, there is talent, but there's commitment as well, and like that's what Risenbeck does. That's what, if I'm being honest, and I'm not. This is not taking a. Like, there's no point in pretending that we're talking to like a million crazed sports fans right now who cannot get enough of the GCL finals. Like, we're not there right now. Where we are at is that there's this really exciting and cool competition going on in a pretty empty stadium in Riyadh, which is cool, but you have to get into it. You have to know it and understand it and get into it. So like the accessibility, the storytelling around it, all that kind of stuff could kind of, just as a sport, we could do better. And like that's kind of the mission that we're all on. As a business, it obviously works pretty well because those guys are jumping for serious prize money. And that's kind of exciting. I think for us then, as kind of following the sport, what that gives us is kind of credibility. We know that it attracts good horses and riders, and we know they're trying to win. And that's what I love about the GCL is, like, when Pacino Amiro won it with Bertram back in Prague a couple of years ago, like, it was just $500,000 payday for that one performance. Added to that, I think the horse had won Wellington earlier in the season, won somewhere. Like, the horse now won more than $1 million in the year, and like the horse becomes a millionaire in a single season. And you're like, it's good. That's the only thing that the money side brings to it is quality, which we enjoy as fans. But the point I'm trying to make is there is real exciting sport here. I just don't think anyone's there yet. And like, that's what we're trying to do. That's obviously our mission as a podcast, is we're trying to do it. But I would be like, the fallout from that is the GC subscription is actually worth it, and following it is actually worth it. We're not paid to say that. I wish we were, but that's kind of where we're at. But I'm with you. The sport and the format of the playoffs, and the fact that we lost two big teams. You mentioned Madrid in Motion and I forgot the team that was knocked out. That happens frequently. Like, this is a sport, and again, when you take out the drop score, this is a sport where got to be careful with the expression. It's better to be lucky than good. Being lucky in a dressage test doesn't exist. Like, dressage is just, it's scored, it's subject. You have to be good. There's no cheating. There's no luck, really. You just got to do it. But it's not massively exciting. But there we go. But you're actually, it is. I lie. I was at the final of the Olympics for dressage. It was good. They clap along now halfway through the test and stuff like that. So I was pleasantly surprised that was very good. But in jumping, you need, it's perilous. Like, the good teams getting kicked out. That again is what makes it class to watch. So yeah, next two nights in Riyadh are going to be exciting.
The no drop score that Dee mentioned as well is absolutely ace. We've seen it a lot more. We've seen it this year, obviously, at the Olympics. We are seeing it in the second round of the LLN right now, and it does make for very, very exciting sport. And it does make it that much more impressive when a team finishes on 0 penalties, like the Shanghai Swans did yesterday in the quarterfinal. That's absolutely incredible, and they've started their Super Cup journey very, very well, very strong. Now, it was a great team. You had Electric Blue, you had Killer Queen, you had Point Break that we mentioned on last week's podcast as really an up-and-coming 10-year-old. I think what he's doing this weekend, if he can keep it up, he's jumping the semi-final this week, tonight as well. We could see that horse become the top 10-year-old in the world and overtaking Greya. Just here.
Some teams, like, when you look at that, like last night's team sound for Swans was Point Break, Electric Blue P with Max Cooner, and Killer Queen with Deusser.
Nice.
And I think tonight you got 2 of those 3 jumping again, and Christian Allman is coming in for Max Cooner tonight. So, yeah, it's nice stuff. The drop score, Charlotte, is what killed off Monaco Aces and Madrid Motion. So by the time your first rider in for both, one had elimination and one had 20, whatever it was, 4 down or 5 down plus time penalties. So by the time Michael van der Vleuten jumped, or Eduardo Alvarez Aznar with Rockefeller, it was kind of over at that point anyway. We almost knew at that point. Last thing is on GCL Charlotte is the teams for this evening and the expectations as we move into the weekend. You'll by the time you hear this, you'll know what happened. So we'll see how right or wrong I am. One nice way of looking at it, because every drop score counts, because every score counts, as we've been saying.
Can I just say that one point on that? Because I had this discussion come up of, should it be teams of 3 or should we go back to 3 from 4? Again, when you try and rationalize it, like we were all normalized with, you can have a drop score, and clearly equestrian sports, particularly jumping with the jeopardy, obviously you can see the rationale behind having a drop score, but the massive cost of it is, as a fan, you're sat in a stadium, a good horse comes in, and suddenly they've just gone like bang bang in the combination and they're on 8 faults. And you've gone from like, oh my God, to actually that might not count. You just suck the sport out of it suddenly. We're in the entertainment business, and as a team manager, I love the drop score because I'm like, process over outcomes, like better team. They do favor the better teams, the teams with better depth. There is more chance at play without it, so therefore you can get shock results. And as strict performance or whatever, you can see the rationale behind it. But again, for sport and entertainment, it's just got to be. It's a no-brainer. Like now that we're seeing it, and actually, what was really nice in the interviews, I think Michael Blake said in his interview in Barcelona that, look, I can see the attraction of it. I think it works. I can see why it works. It causes them headaches. Like and Henrik Ancorona was saying, it actually, as a manager, brings strategy. He has to decide his plan going into an LLN might be, I'm going to jump Petter, Henrik and Malin in round 2, but then he's watching round 1 and he's going, do you know what? I'm going to keep Rolf in. Like they now have to think and act, and whereas how much as a manager, how much actionable input can you have once a traditional Nations Cup starts? It's not as much as now an LLN, where actually you now have to make a decision as to who you drop. So no, sport's progressing. It's all good stuff. I'm a big fan anyway. Sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you. Where was I?
Talking about tonight's teams.
Okay, thanks. Now, because of this 3 counting scores from 3, one important way of looking at the teams is that a team like Shanghai Swans, who tonight, let's take Stockholm Hearts. Well, it doesn't matter, I suppose. But Shanghai Swans and Stockholm Hearts are 2 big examples of this. If you're to take Stockholm Hearts, they've got the 2 highest rated horses jumping this evening that you will see in Donatello Dodge for Julien Epiard and GC Superhero H&M Indiana jumping with Malin Bayer Johnson, rated 675 or 765 and 764. However, you have to count everybody. So those 2 are Stockholm Hearts 765, 764. However, you've got to consider this concept of range. You can't really go from 2 760 rated horses and then also have a 600 rated horse. I mean, you can, but this is the risk that you carry. If that 600 rated horse jumps clear, which tonight we have a horse 618 jumping for the Hearts in Olivia Philippart's. Oh, Charlotte, it looks very Belgian. Papa Mikey van der Moor.
Very good.
Thank you. But Olivia Philippart's is jumping a 618 rated horse. For context, you're probably in the top 100 horses if you're about 715 and above. you're right down in the kind of 400, 300 mark at 618 is my guess, somewhere in that zone. All of that is to say, if you have the two highest rated horses in the competition, probably both of them in the top 30 in the world, with H&M Indiana and Donatello Doge, your big moment really in an all counting score competition tonight for the hearts will all be around the Olivia Philippart round. So what we try to do when we're looking at this is we look at what's the average, but then what's the max and what's the min. It brings you back to the team that won the series and that will jump tonight for the first time in Constars. They have the only team who have a higher ELO in them is Shanghai Swans.
That was so Irish. Oh, no, fair the way you said. No, sorry, that was correct, actually.
Sorry about Sam today. I think he took some
acid before. If you were talking about, because you were actually talking about a team and the ELO in the team, so that made sense. But I thought you were talking about a horse. But imagine saying, like, oh, that horse, that has a great ELO in him. You wouldn't say it like that. I'm after getting that wrong. But you know what I mean. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Sorry, so keep going. It's great.
Thanks. Can I just put you back on mute? You can look at the average ELO of everybody in the competition, of all the teams, I should say. So in terms of average ELO, Swans, Canstar, Stockholm Hearts, Rome Gladiators. But in a competition like this with all counting scores, the key thing to consider is what's the range. And what you get with some of them is a range, say, as I said, with Stockholm Hearts, you've got quite a big range from 765 down to 618. However, with the Canstars, your top rated horse is 731, who, let me think, 731 is Sophie Hinners, Charlotte, Ring the Bell, Love Hearts. Sophie Hinners, Iron Dame Sinclair, one of the top rated 9-year-olds in the world, 731. That leads the way for Canstars. But the big news is you don't drop down that far. Catherine Ackerman's Iron Dame's Calamandia is 701. So you're in that plus 700 tight range, all scores count. And for me, all eyes are on Canstars again. They won the league version of this. I'd be very surprised if they don't progress through tonight to Saturday's final. Once we get to the final, 6 teams are there and they're just playing for the big money at that point in terms of how this is all going to end up. But there is big money to be won come Saturday. I would expect that you're going to probably see Shanghai Swans, Canstars, probably the Stockholm Hearts, Rome Gladiators, Valkenswaard might get in there as well, I think. And then after that, Riesenbeck will probably be silly to count out, but Riesenbeck are coming in here with really big range as well. An average ELO of 674, but it goes from 637 all the way to 737, full 100 mark range down to 637. It's that one that brings up the base for me that I'm interested in every time.
But Riesenbeck have the story here, I think, because Mila's back. Now, Mila was in Rabat. But the first 160 for Owen McMahon and Mila since winning the playoffs in Prague last year. So they made their return in Rabat, but they took home the big $500,000 check, whatever it was. I think it's 1.5 to the team, so it's 5. I don't know how it gets split out, but obviously Riesenbeck won the final last year, defending champs. Was on the team with Zinedine, who was one of the horses of the year last year, and Checker, now your Olympic champ for Kukuk. But with Mila, they were the team last year. Mila had a couple of sticks down in Rabat a couple of weeks ago. That was their one. That's been their only 160 since then. So it feels like the comeback is just you wouldn't want this to be the first 160. Like, it's tough jumping here, and it will be. Like, fair play if Owen McMahon has the horse back to top level, back to where it was in Prague last year. Like, that'll be serious going to do that. But they could, and I'd be watching them, and I think that's kind of that's a horse you could see on Irish teams and stuff next year as well. So definitely, I would be all eyes on them from obviously GCL team point of view, but also Nation Team Ireland point of view as well. Can't wait to see them in action tonight.
If you had to call it, who wins the UCL Super Cup 2024? Which team?
I think it's really hard to look beyond Shanghai Swans from a from a strength point of view, if all goes to plan. Not everything will go to plan. You can almost be sure of that. But with Jesus, like, it's unbelievable. Point Break, Killer Queen, taking out Electric Blue P. I mean, you'd nearly picked it. Like, I mean, if you could pick three people to ride on a team, they're not going to be too far off it in terms of like 2024 form. Those three. But you're putting Killer Queen back inside Charlotte. Can Stars keep the momentum?
Yeah,
or does the power of Shanghai Swans come true? Does the experience of a Stockholm Heart? For the sake of the story, for the sake of the excitement, for the sake of Sophie Hinners and the crew, Iron Dames. So Iron Dames are powering the Can Stars all the way to a 2024 victory.
And what do you think?
I think it comes down to what it came down to last year, which is, does Kukuk save Checker from the Super Grand Prix or not? Like, that was one of the biggest self-sacrifices of last year, is he did not run Checker in the Super Grand Prix, which is obviously individual, because Thursday night tonight is semi-final night. Friday's going to be Super Grand Prix. Saturday's going to be the final. And he rested Kukuk, rested Checker, jumped Samal, or not a it's not like he had it was a definite step down. I would say, sorry if I've offended anyone, but that's just what it looks like. And didn't place, didn't get a good result in the Grand Prix, but then they delivered. And I think if I would just fear that Riesenbeck team. I think it's been a battle between Can Stars. It's been a battle between the girls and the German powerhouses, or the Byrne stables all season. And I think it could come down to that again, just because preparation, focus, commitment to the series. And I liked seeing that rewarded. But if Checker jumps in the Super Grand Prix,
Riesenbeck aren't going to the final, Sam. Just to let you know.
I don't think so either. I have to agree with
getting through tonight.
No, I don't think so. Kukuk's riding a 9-year-old, Chad George, which I haven't heard of that much. And he has Checker there, but he also has Just Be Gentle there. And if he really was in it to win it, this Super Cup, he would be riding either one of them, and then the other one jumps the Super Grand Prix.
Yeah, so he's not gone big, because last in Prague, Checker jumped the semi-final and the final. So did Mila. Like, they definitely committed to it. So yeah, for that reasons, then I'd be back on. I'd probably be, the Swans look the team on paper, but
we haven't even started the podcast, Sam. The actual podcast, Charlotte's actual podcast hasn't even started.
Call it, Sam. Call it.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see where you're going with that.
Oh, no, we have pressed record. Don't worry.
I will go with Can Stars.
Okay. I also want to go with Can Stars, but because both of you have said that, I'm going to go Shanghai Swans, because they just look so strong, and they looked so strong yesterday. And I am fully on the Point Break train, and Ben is not in the Super Grand Prix, so Point Break can jump away. He's not distracted. So that's where I'm going.
That's the data pick, to be honest. It should be the other way around. We should be on Swans and you should be on the...
Yeah, because it hurts. It actually hurts my heart not to pick the Can Stars.
I'll swap with you. Can I take Swans and you take... Mind you, then everyone's a loser, because people will only focus on the fact that you switched loyalties. Agreed.
Yeah,
look,
exactly.
There's a data team and there's a heart team. There's a head team and a heart team.
Sorry, just so you know, for me, I'm a data person. And the reason that I'm not picking who did you go with? Swans?
Is the weak link.
Yeah, Christian Allman's horse tonight.
That's true.
680.
That is true.
So,
but he has delivered in the past.
These are, like, again, guys, it's why it's worth watching this, because, like, you're talking about, like, 24 faults can get through to the final. It's unreal, like, because you have three counting score, and it's big jumping, and, like, it's exciting. Like, it's exciting watching someone come into the ring being, they can only have 2 down, because people have been having like 3 and 4 and retiring and stuff like that. Come on, get there! Yes, he can do it. Frederick de Backer in full.
He's going to be delighted.
In full flow.
He's going to be
full voice. Oh my goodness me!
Let's talk Super Grand Prix. This is what I've been waiting for. 15 riders, 15 horses. This is where the magic is going to happen. We've got such a great lineup. The Belgians, particularly strong. 6 riders, I believe they have in that Super Grand Prix. That's incredible. We have kind of a young horse head-to-head going on. We have Gilles Thomas with Hermitage Cologne. That's confirmed on the GCT socials that Hermitage is jumping the Super Grand Prix. But then we also have that 9-year-old for Thibaut Spitz, Imprescavant Cataneo, who will likely be jumping this Grand Prix.
Well, do you think? Well, you've got the Olympic. I think Kuka does jump Checker, seeing as he's there.
I think it's Checker. Checker jumped the individual class yesterday for 2 time penalties, so he's clearly being preparing for something.
Yeah.
And that he's not jumping Checker tonight in the team, I think also says a lot. Checker could be jumping this, and if you have the reigning Olympic champion in a Grand Prix like this, there's always a danger. But we also have, that 9-year-old Foxy Larocque, who has won 3 of her 4 starts at 5-star 160, incredibly fast against the clock. I would even say for Checker, they would be, if they're clear and into the jump off, Foxy takes it from Checker on speed, purely on speed.
But it's a 2-round Grand Prix, so it's second round is this for me is not a baby's competition. I think it's like we've seen big names taking this. Like I'm pretty sure King Edward won this in 21.
Tobago won it, and then
it's big jumping, lads. It's scary big. Well, it certainly was in Prague because that was such a small arena, and it just feels even bigger when it's up. But it was still scary big and in a small arena, and I just think it's I don't know. It's not for the faint-hearted. I enjoy the bit. Now, Hermitage is a 10-year-old. I'd worry about the 9-year-olds. I think it's going to be a lot for them. But the 10-year-olds, so Hermitage versus. But I think this is just set up for Checker. I think this is to, and that's. Did we expect him? Were people going into Paris going, "Oh, Kukoc and Checker"? These, they weren't to talk like yes, respected, yes, multi 5-star Grand Prix winner. But I think now jumping's a strange game. I think once you've won the Olympics, now I think it's important to get to start being mentioned in the same realm as Explosions and King Edwards and other major championship winners, big stars. You think of the horses who've won these big titles. I think for Checker to do that, he needs to. This would be a good one to add to the CV. Being able to also won the Super Grand Prix and beat all those, and he should. He should on paper that he should be a clear favourite here.
Here's another one for you. Do you think that the Swans loss tonight, losing Max Kuhner in the team and being replaced by Christian Allman and Mandato, does that win Max Kuhner his first Super Grand Prix? Because he chooses Electric Blue for the Super Grand Prix tomorrow. And is that what will lose the Swans their spot in the final on Saturday?
That would be the best graphic though, because when you look at the playoffs in 2023 and Kukoc sacrificing for the team and then Kuhner going the other way around, and that's the difference with the team dynamics, right? Like that's what the Beerbram and the Riesenbeck team bring, is like they will sacrifice for the team.
But not this year.
Not this year. I know they haven't done it this year. I know you have to go back to last year. There's a caveat and an asterisk. But that's a really good point, Charlotte. I think they'll be hoping they hang on. You can actually see like what team tonight has gone all out. I don't think any team has gone all out tonight. I think they're all hoping. They've gone semi for the semi-finals. They're kind of 2/3 there.
The Doha Falcons have gone all out, I would say. Julien Anquetet, Le Diamond Dupont, Mikey Pender, HSS Calais, and Willem Vermeer, IQ van het Steentje.
And none of them is Will Vermeer in the Super Grand Prix, no?
No.
No, so none of them in the Super Grand Prix. Yeah, so it might. I mean, that's what makes the night interesting, is to see, do they sacrifice. But you're right, because then if Electric Blue goes for the Super Grand Prix, then you're also looking, even if the Swans do make the final, which they should, but then you're going, yeah, is the jumping done in the Super Grand Prix? It's another fascinating. It's what makes it up, and it's what makes the whole weekend, the whole show, the whole playoffs and Super Grand Prix a fascinating watch.
You've also said that this is not a Grand Prix for the babies. Well, we have very likely a horse in here that is quite the opposite of a baby, because Eduardo Alvarez Aznar was the last rider to qualify for the Super Grand Prix in Rabat a couple of weeks ago. A historic win with that 19-year-old Rockefeller de Pléville-Bamaro. We will likely see him in the Grand Prix. I don't know who else. If he has another horse here, he hasn't made Inter-Uitershof. But now that he doesn't have any team commitments anymore,
yeah,
Rockefeller is very likely going to be jumping this Grand Prix, and he has all the experience. He has had an absolutely incredible season. Would it not be so beautiful to finish this horse's career with a Super Grand Prix win?
Are we allowed to do horse of the year spoilers?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, our big dilemma right now, when we were going through our draft for horse of the year, it wasn't a big dilemma. I actually found it much easier. But two of the numbers
I was struggling.
Yeah, Rockefeller versus Electric Blue, P, and they're and they could be. This could decide which one goes in or out. But I just love that. For me, it will be so hard to not have Rockefeller in the horse of the year for this year as a 19-year-old. And if it hadn't been for the, went to Olympics and represented the country, but it was the form in the first half of the season that was unreal. And you go, this is the best 160 horse in the world right now. But you're doing, once that kept going to, we were saying that not just in March, but then in April and then in May, you're going, whoa, that was sustained. And then, then Electric Blue P, Leonie J, King Edward himself, they did come and overtake. But then he comes back and wins Rabat and goes, yeah, I'm still here, I'm still chipping away at 19. That wasn't just one freak little weird bubble of form. This horse has been sensational all season at the age of 19. Go on, son.
The only thing I would worry about with them is the speed in the second round. We have some real speed merchants in this class. Bettendorf, Kukuk, even Nicolas Philippaerts. I think he rides Katanga van Dingeshoff. She's incredibly fast. Max Kuhner. We have some really, really fast horses. In Lorenzo De Luca, do not forget.
Double Clear wins it, though. Well, Double Clear could easily win it. This was won on 4 penalties last year. Dubai decided beat King Edward. Monaco was 5th. Beauville was 6th.
But it still has to be a quick 4 penalties if it's 4 penalties.
Exactly, yeah.
Or you have to be the only Double Clear.
Yeah, if it comes down to 4, we know it's going to be a fast 4, and then it's not Rockefeller. But what I'm saying is you leave those sticks in their little cups. You're not going to be far away. Easier said than done, I'd say.
Thanks for that. No, that's good. That's the kind of they're the type of pieces that will really project you into those management positions that you're looking for.
When it comes to Geneva, you're going to have to be fast, because there's going to be about 10 in the jump off. It could be 13 in the jump off. I'll not be saying that from Geneva, but in this Super Grand Prix, there will not be more than 2 horses Double Clear. Is my call on it.
We're still in very much draft stage, just so you know. I mean, it's currently only being discussed by the two of you as to who's going through into the horse of the year. And honestly, if there's a choice for me between, I'm really on the other side of the fence.
You won't be. You won't be once I speak to you for about 5 minutes. I'm going to change your mind.
No, that's that. I like hearing your nice stories about longevity. However, they are lovely stories. But if you go back to Rome of this year, when Max Kuhner began to start jumping 160 clears, we're now on 13 160s since Rome, 9 of them clear. And you guys have really leaned into the fact that he hasn't won. Internally, you're saying, yeah, loads of clears, but not enough wins. I think you have to just keep putting yourself in the right position, jumping clears. and they come. Like, you don't control the other positions, and this fella is doing an awful lot right. I think if I would obviously love to see my friend Max go on and win, my close friend Max go on and win for Electric Blue P because of the season that they've had. Because I think there's probably, if your opinion is around not enough podiums, not standing on enough podiums to deserve the praise, I think that is probably reflected in the wider community potentially. I actually think what Electric Blue P is doing is a little bit under the radar. And I think if you look at the consistency over the last 3 or 4 years, it was under the radar then as well. I think you're looking at a really, really special horse, special partnership in these two. And I think it only needs one person to scratch beneath the surface to look at the Electric Blue P probably last 3 years. And what would bring about people to write that would be if he wins on Friday. I would be all in on Electric Blue P as a super winner.
It's hard because on form, the 3 best horses at 160 in the world this year are King Edward, Electric Blue P, and Leonie in that order. And we know, and you're not even debating, and you probably shouldn't debate all 3. Like, if they are the 3 highest performing, the problem is that Rockefeller, and we'll get to why the other horses, we'll get to why Legacy, why United Touch, why Beauville, because they've done things like adding medals or winning nation, like there's a lot to be discussed there. But Rockefeller's number 5. And he's 19. So that's
19.
That's the thing. It's the 19, and you have to go, like, I think that's valid. Like, I think if Federer comes back out of retirement and wins another Grand Slam, and someone else, some young pup, wins 2 Grand Slams in the same year, you still go, yeah, but he came back at that age. So that's where sport turns into stories. We've got the data to inform the decisions. You get it all here in the EquiRatings Jumping Podcast, folks. If you haven't spread the love by now, we must be doing something wrong. Let us know. But we spread the love.
I would like your Super Grand Prix podiums, please. Who wants to start? I haven't started thinking. I'm kind of scared myself. No, let's go. I think
by the time I finish speaking, it'll be tomorrow. So, like, you'll have all your...
Exactly. So I think I'm just going to kick us off here. I think it could be Victor Bettendorf and Foxy Larocque takes it home. Then...
Big start.
Yeah. I don't know if it's not controversial. I think they have the speed. They have, yes, limited experience, but their form so far has been incredible. 3 from 4 wins at 5-star 160, not just clears, wins.
I see what you're doing there.
I'm confused. And because Sam Watson is doing something incredibly odd on camera right now. I'm really sorry.
Sorry, I'm playing with a phone. That's terrible. Yeah, okay, keep going.
Those are words you can't say on a podcast, Sam.
Yeah.
Victor Bettendorf, Foxy Larocque. I'm going to focus again. Then Koekkoek, second. Jules Thomas, Hermitage Cologne, third.
Yeah, do you want me to go?
Yeah, you go.
Do you want me to go? We don't need to. We'll just let her be. In third place is Lorenzo De Luca with Denver de Talma. Hang on, it's not Electric Blue P even jumping. It's up to Jacko Blue. Is that right?
That's who he won on. That's who he got the ticket on. In Central Bay.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. God, panicking there.
We don't know if it's Electric Blue.
It is,
but it's very likely to be Electric Blue.
It's Electric Blue. They were actually, in fairness, they did at one point during this year touch on ratings. I think at one point actually somewhere in the 750s up to Jacko Blue actually might have passed Electric Blue P at one point. I know he said it's not for babies, but I really like that Thibaut Spitz impressive on the Catenay. No, all right, help me out. Go on.
Imprescavant Catenay.
Imprescava Catenay. Yeah, I like it. To be honest, you can't go too far wrong with your selections in a competition like this, can you? You can pretty much just stick a pin in them, like they're all class.
They're all winners.
I love Foxy De La Rock, but if Foxy De La Rock keeps going like this, I mean, it'll be in Keno Connor's yard by Christmas time. It'll be a nice little present. Like, there's no way that horse is going to be able to keep jumping at this level and stay with Victor.
It's the Chelsea of show jumping. The
Chelsea just come home. I really like Foxy de la Rock.
And the average age of your team is about 6 years old.
Yeah, they're young.
They're babies.
I didn't pick Rockefeller.
You didn't pick.
But see, when it comes down to it, Charlotte, when it comes down to it, it wasn't even in your head. It's on a list in front of you. It wasn't even in your head. And this is part of what we'll discuss.
I'm going to cry if it happens, though. Tears of joy.
All bases covered.
Probably apply that to 9 of them.
Okay, but extra tears for Rockefeller.
Okay,
I'll go with Max Cooner. I'll go with Max Cooner, Electric Blue Pea. I think that would make me cry.
I'm trying to get 4 to go into 3, and they all actually qualified in succession. So Gilles Thomas, Hermitage Cologne, this could be the one that I leave off the 4. Kukuk and Checker, I think, is my favorite, is my winner. Max Cooner, Electric Blue Pea in the top 3, number 2 in the world, actually. So I'm going to put Electric Blue Pea second here behind Checker. And the one that I'm going to put on the podium ahead of Hermitage Cologne is the horse who's actually the 4th highest rated horse on form at 5-star 160 in the world this year. And that is Messi Van der Reutershoff. I think this is an overlooked horse by Jana Frederica Myers-Immen. Why are you shaking your head?
No, because I would love them on mine as well, but I only have 3 spots on a podium, and that breaks my heart.
Fella. No, Jana.
The double. Can Stars win, and then Super Grand Prix win as well. That would be.
Have you got Belgians? Have you got Belgians on your, Charlotte?
I have. No, I don't think I do. I have Foxy, Kukuk, and who did I pick?
Feels to me like you picked
Hermitage.
You picked
Hermitage.
No Belgians and no women. Oh, you've got Hermitage. Okay. Be just quite an unusual pick for you to pick all non-Belgian men. Like that would be an unusual.
No. I picked Gilles Thomas.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. All good. Charlotte said
she started that segment being like, "This is what I've been waiting for, the Super Grand Prix." I've got a feeling that she is so disappointed with her podium, and like if she could get the last half hour of her life back, and or the last 10 minutes of her life back.
Well, she took the whole thing back. She's like, scrap all that GCL stuff. Let me really focus on Friday night, top 15 horses.
You've changed the plan, and now I'm all ruffled up, and I'm a mess. And there's so much pressure. Since Barcelona, there's so much pressure on me picking podiums. And I feel like I should have stopped after Barcelona, peaked and stopped, retired from picking podiums.
Stop mentioning Barcelona. That's history now. You can't mention that anymore.
Yeah.
That's like my silver medal in 2018. You got to stop talking about it at some point.
Well, mine's only a couple of weeks away. Your 2018 medal was 6 years ago.
I know. I still got into the conversation, into the show. So everyone's doing it.
Yeah, there we go.
Good pod. Good weekend. Good jumping in Riyadh, isn't there, lads?
Thank you so much to Connolly's Red Mills, because we couldn't be discussing this without them. Check them out, check their socials. We will be trying to cover as much as we can this weekend. There's also a World Cup leg in the USA in Arcadia, so keep an eye on that as well. And we will see you guys next week.
Lads, on the Red Mills horse care mash. Get it into it's weight gaining. Honestly, I've got 3-year-olds on this, and I've got 10-year-olds on this. It's kind of new, yeah, because I've used the Comfort Mash before. This is like a 7% approach, so it's really non-heating, but like the horses are looking great, and it's great for this time of year when you're trying to build condition. And then like if you're out galloping in the snow, well, not galloping, but you're out kind of working them outside in the snow like I was in, and you don't want them feeling fresh and frisky, it's perfect. But just that's a real problem solver for a lot of people. They're trying to get condition and muscle onto the horses, but they don't want them popping out their eyeballs in terms of high release energy. It's so palatable. Like the horses love it. You can put anything else in there that you want. It's great stuff.
When you do a little, when you go and you ad lib like that, then you have to sign off. You can't just go silent. You've got to take it home. Then you can't.
Thank you, Red Mills, and thank you, listeners and folks. We will be back again with more on the EquiRatings Jumping podcast. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you back here again very soon.
Okay. You just can't just look at it vacantly into the camera as if who's going to finish off that.